welcome to Beauties and Beasties, the independent pest podcast of the UK.
Hello. How are we doing tonight?
You all right?
I'm all good.
Good.
So for those with a keen ear listening back, we have Hugh stepping in for Sean this evening for tonight's podcast. How you doing,
And
Hugh?
Sean's the first to say hello. Hey!
Hey, there he is. Hey, what's it like that side of the screen? Hi, Sean. Hi, Wayne. So yeah,
It's
how's
always-
your week been, Hugh?
Okay, it's actually always very weird, the other side of the screen, watching it and you know, thinking, oh, I should be asking that, or I should, do you know, it's very, I've got to go somewhere in an hour. Okay. So, yeah. So it is odd watching it from the other side and picking things out. So I must say, I prefer being the other side of the screen, but hey ho.
But you have such a nice beard. Thank you, Casper. I can only assume you're referring to me there. But thank you very much.
Not referring to me it's not referring to me at all, is it?
I don't know. I think you look magnificent.
Of course I
With a
do.
goatee. Absolutely.
Oh, I did have a goatee
Oh,
once upon a time.
I know that's. I'm making reference to anyone who's seen. Hugh has a wonderful photo of him stood by a cliffside on what was the manor with the two twins.
Oh, the
twins?
the island of Brecku.
Yes. If you ever want to, just see a picture of Hugh in his prime, send him a message and ask to see the picture of him on the island of Brecku, chasing pretend rabbits around.
It was actually a phosphine treatment, and all we had was rubber gloves and a flask and a stick, and we no shirts or anything, and welly boots. Back in down the side of a cliff, back in the days of health and safety, as it were.
Yeah, I can hear Iosh right now, sort of like withering, screaming into the void. But there we go. How was your week? What have you been up to?
I've noticed a few people saying it, and it's been a bit quiet this week, I must admit. The telephones have gone a bit quiet, but zero. But ticking along. We can catch up once it goes a little bit quiet. We had a little bit of an odd one this week when we were asked to quote against ourselves, which was a bit of a strange one. It just shows that it shows some of these.
You have several phone numbers, don't you? Yeah.
No, it wasn't even that. It was the same company. Big company had multiple sites, and one manager said to the other manager, because they've been put on a money saving campaign. Obviously they're like, do you know anybody that quote for pest control? And one manager, apparently, we got to the end of it, said to the other, yeah, you want to give these guys an email? They're absolutely fantastic. Value for money, fantastic service. Give them a shout. So I get an email saying, can you quote for this site and this site? And I'm like, we already do them, and we've done them for 10 years. So a bit of a strange one. But
did you win the contract? That's the big question.
We maintained the contract because once it was explained what good value for money we were giving. But that just goes to show, it does go to show with some of the bigger companies, how just like that, with the change of different managers, you can lose a contract.
Yeah, the thing is so maybe not in the pest industry, but I certainly know from other industries, that friends and family work for, that certain contract managers have preferential sort of like subcontractors that I work with, and if the contract manager disappears off, they tend to, rather than sort of like do anything else, I'm just like, I know a guy who could do that better, and they bring their entourage with them. So sometimes that's great for you because you get dragged along to a new site, but other times it can be a bit awkward as for no reason whatsoever. Oh, while we off? Oh, just preferential treatment for, my mate who
Whoever.
I've worked with for 15 years. Yeah.
Yeah,
So, oh, that's all exciting. My week's been good. It's been very
good.
busy. I'm not sure if I've a lot of late nights. Not for another reason than just sort of like lots of work to be done. Nothing too exciting, but we all have those sometimes, don't we? Where the sort of like you have multiple projects on and they're all ticking away, and then suddenly you realise that all the deadlines are just rolling up at the same
Yeah.
week. Oh, actually, I'm going to need to really put a little bit extra in this week. So this is going to be a relax for me tonight. This is me
Yes.
finishing very
Chilled out. Very chilled evening.
chill.
I suppose we ought to actually ask people again, because we haven't asked for a while. Don't forget to like, follow, and share, because we actually hit our target of 1,000 followers, and it's well above it now. But it'd be nice to get to 1,500.
I was about to say, what's the new target you've set for us, you?
1,500, I think. Yeah.
1,500.
Yeah. I'll
Arbitrary
write that.
finger in the air, 1,500.
I'll write it down. Otherwise, as Sean says, if it's not written down, it doesn't happen. Oh dear.
And for everyone listening back to this, Hugh's camera's magically turned off. He's still here. We can still hear him. But there we go.
I
We've
can.
actually got quite. We can hear you all right. We've got quite
Let's
a
try this again.
international followership. Oh, just here. So we've got some folks from Dubai. Hello very much. We've got some folks from Trinidad. And actually, I remember this gentleman came to Church Farm years and years ago with a trio of others for going. Absolutely excellent to see you on there. We now have Hugh back on again. There we go. Magical cameras there.
That's all Sean's fault.
So,
He made me get this camera.
oh, you know what? So long as we don't have the level of total and unbridled chaos that we had last week, I'll be a happy bunny. That's, talking of shows going smoothly. That one was great, and then it just snowballed into the absolute. How was it that Kat described it? Splendid chaos. I think that was the words. So yeah, I think we
It
need to
just,
definitely get some badges of that made.
whatever happens, it can't be as bad as Facebook when we were just doing Facebook.
No, it can't. And
Can't,
like,
can it?
can't. I mean, ladies and gentlemen, for those who are just joining us, those who have listened to a couple of our backlog, if you really want to see the evolution of three men and a podcast, then go all the way back to some of our original episodes where, oh, lordy, they were, this is not professional. What they were to begin with was something very, very special. But I'll tell you what, rather than us pontificating about
Yeah,
the past, should we bring our guest on for this evening?
we shall.
Oh, well, you've got a little bit of history with our guest, so I'll tell you what, I'll leave it to you to introduce and bring him to the stage.
Okay, well, I haven't really got too much history, but we did happen to work for a big company together once upon a time, which was Rentokil. So I'm really happy to introduce for everybody Savvas Othon. There we go. Who's had a absolutely stellar career in pest control. So we'll have a chat about that. Hi, Sav.
Hi, Hugh. How are you?
Yeah, not too bad, thanks. So
Good.
tell us a bit about Sav then.
Well, tell you, I think, well, look, the easiest thing is I'm a pest controller. That's it, like all of us, right? That's what I am. 30 years doing this and still loving it. Sort of tells you're in the right career, doesn't it?
So at school,
yeah,
you didn't dream of being a pest controller, I don't suppose, did you?
Yeah. Doesn't everybody?
Really?
No.
Oh, yeah. Of course I did.
No, I didn't go to school to be a pest controller, but I never really knew what I wanted to do. And so I sort of went along, did GCSEs, A levels, university. When you get to university, you sort of have to start making choices. Well, I quite like biology, so I was doing a degree in biology. Got to the final year, didn't really have a clue what I wanted to do. Environmental health officer seemed, quite interesting. And then one night, you know, when you're a student, you're up late at night or early morning watching TV, and there was a program on, and it was something like 5-minute careers or 5-minute jobs, and every week it was following somebody doing the job for 5 minutes. And that particular night, it was just after Sport AM. I don't know if anyone remembers Sport AM, early mornings, you know, 3 AM, something like that. It was a guy from Rentokil, and it was just 5 minutes, and he was spraying some cockroaches in someone's house, and I thought, seems all right. So I wrote a letter to Rentokil and said, do you have any jobs as technician? And then sort of took it from there. You know, I got interviewed for a role in London East. They passed my CV, that time my CV over to London Westminster, and I took a job with them. So I finished my exams on the Wednesday. I started with Rentokil on the Monday.
Was that as a graduate intake or?
No, technician.
No, right.
Technician. And
Cool.
I loved it. Centre of London, fantastic, really good. Probably one of the highlights of my whole career, that walking around on London on foot, Tottenham Court Road, Oxford Street was my patch, with some right characters in Rentokil, as you will know, Hugh. You know, real characters that you learnt your trade well. You know, carrying your sprayer on the tube.
Yeah.
Probably
Yeah.
wouldn't do it now, would you? Bag of poisons and a sprayer, off you go.
And did you have little stashes here and there for different bits?
Yeah, we had stores all around the place. I mean, my home store was on Charlotte Street, just off Tottenham Court Road. There was another store there just behind a Cafe Royale, and the Regent's Hotel, Regent's Palace Hotel, which I don't think's there anymore. But yeah, they're all stashed around the place. And you dive in there, fill up your bag, have your sandwich, and then off to do your routines.
That takes quite some planning, though, doesn't it? Because everybody's like drives around in their van that's full of gear, and you've got a service bag and a sprayer, and you think, I've got the golden 10 to do, 10 routines to do today, you know, and you get halfway around and you think, shit, I need some, I don't know, FICAM W, and I haven't got any.
Sticky boards, let's be controversial.
Yeah.
Yeah, so it does, you know, you sort of had to know what to take. But again, the guys who trained me they'd been around years, and they just taught you everything. There was none of this, I'm not going to teach you, you know, I don't want you to learn anything from. It was just, you know, really open, really friendly. And you did your 6 weeks training.
Yeah.
You filled your questions out every night in your book, didn't you?
Yeah.
End of the week, do your exam, hope you pass that one. Sign off by your trainer.
Yeah.
On to the next week. 6 weeks. Congratulations, off you go. And there's your bag of poisons, off you go. I thought, okay. Well, I can just go and do this now. And of course, you don't learn anything really in the first 6 weeks, do you? When you start really understanding what the job is, you sort of learn to go in, talk to customers, fill out a report, the basics of what chemical does what pest. But it takes
PC80.
Yeah, you know, putting your job lead as well, your blue card.
Yeah.
Get your leads in. Pigeons on a building, please. 2.5%.
Yeah.
So
sounds familiar.
Yeah, I did that for a couple of years, and I've never really got out of pest control. I've tried to many times, but I don't know much else now.
Did you have the pleasure of going to U Lodge?
I did, yeah, I did, and also Bulldog.
Yeah,
up there as well. And the trainer at that time was John Charlton at the time.
Yeah,
fantastic, really good. And then,
I mean, it was always surprising that you know that they would actually send you away for a whole week to stay in a residential centre doing another week's training after 6 months.
Yeah,
you know, that was always like, you're going to U Lodge for a week, you know, and what a lovely place as well. What a fantastic venue.
It was, wasn't it? I mean, Felcourt was another magnificent building, wasn't it? The old
Yeah.
Felcourt.
Yeah.
You walked in there, you really felt, special, didn't you? You knew it was a
Yeah.
special place.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was the training at the time was excellent. I mean, at the time, Rentokil, I think, were only sort of starting to be challenged, and then National Britannia come, didn't they?
Mm-hmm.
Now we're going back, aren't we? Everyone's going, really, National Britannia? There'll be a few people listening that know who National Britannia is or was.
Yeah.
Or Peter Cox, wasn't it, as well?
Yeah.
Yeah. But at that time, Rentokil in London, we were doing door to door. So my customers were on 1-2 streets. You could literally go job to job to job. So I didn't waste time, traveling. Like the Vantex getting in the cars, or the technicians now getting in the cars, and we've got to travel to a site, get stuck in traffic. I was just up and down Tottenham Court Road. It was, kept me fit.
For sure.
So
then
it's amazing listening to you two. Like it's actually incredible. I have to say, well, like one of the things, and I just didn't mean to interrupt you there, Hugh, but you can tell the ex-Rentokil service technicians because you all use the same terminologies, buzzwords, keywords. It's almost institutionalized. You can tell when someone's left Rentokil and set up on their own because they have a very specific sort of like view and set of sort of like, so obviously the training sticks with you. It would seem.
Yeah, absolutely. It was great training, and you sort of subjected to it, and you lived it, and there was checks and balances, and you made friends for life within your small team with your supervisor at the time, heading that up. And yeah, it was, as a career move, I couldn't have done better, right? It was a fantastic start to a career, and I think now for the youngsters coming through, getting a chance with, now they've got a choice of professional companies to start with, and that's where we start to see competition coming for the new people. But I guess we'll come on to that anyway as the conversation goes.
No. But before we get on to that, Casper's just put a comment up there. Tell us the Mick Jagger story.
So he's a card, isn't he, Casper? I love him to death. So again, at Rentokil, used to get overtime because there's no night technicians, and we're always going out, and everyone was after the overtime, and so you would occasionally go onto other people's patches, and they needed a hand, or you needed to do a job for them, and being central London, there's a lot of hotels, and one of the hotels, I was the one that was, on that particular night, spraying for flies. Told, go in there, fruit flies, do your treatment. And so I turned up there around 2 a.m, well, about 1:30. They're going to close the bar at 2 o'clock. It's all going to be, ready for you to spray. We'll cover up the drinks and everything. I got in, so I turned up, signed in, went to the bar, and I was told, not yet, we've got important guests, not yet, just wait there. So I'm waiting. Red overalls, sprayer, bag, just wait. I'm waiting. 20 minutes later, put my head around the door. They go, get back. Wait. And this went on for about 40 minutes, an hour. I'm going, I've got to go, and put my head around. And anyway, I put my head around, and the important guests in the bar, called me over, and it was Mick Jagger and he's some of his bandmates and a few other people with him. And he said, "What do you do?" I said, "I'm here to do pest control." He went, "You're not going to be doing pest control for a while." I said, "Just sit down." And the security guy, it wasn't security, it was like, the night manager was horrified. He was horrified. He was looking like this. And Mick Jagger, "No, sit down. Sit down. I'll buy you a drink. What drink do you want? Lemonade, Coke. He went, no, have one of these. And he got me this. And why Casper's asking this, because I saw this bottle of drink the other night, and I told him the story, and it was a Luda 13th brandy. And he got so Mick Jagger brought me a drink, and that's and I sat with him and drank it, and then we didn't really care about the flies after that, did you? You know, so you do meet a lot of funny people.
But you
Definitely
didn't convert Mick Jagger to pest control. Then you failed. You didn't bring him across the dark side. You know, could you imagine the marketing we could have done with Mick Jagger in pest control?
could have sold him a contract for his house.
Before you wrote the song,
What was that, Hugh?
Could have sold him a contract for his house.
Oh yeah.
That's a Rentokil letdown. I didn't put a lead in. I mean, that's
I missed that, didn't I?
Yeah. So then you're kicking around the streets of London.
Yeah.
On the streets of London. What happens then? Technician kicking around.
All I wanted to be at Rentokil was a field biologist. Would you believe? That was like where I wanted to go. It was a fantastic job. You know, these field biologists, they had fantastic cars. They could wear white shirts and a tie. I think it was a Rover 214 at the time, wasn't it?
Yes. Yeah.
It might be 30 years ago, but I remember it.
Yeah.
I thought I want to be a field biologist. They seemed so cool. They were going to these big food factories, and you know, with their knowledge and their, you know, a slash of the pen, they would destroy it or put it together. You know, and I was offered a role up in Bradford, and said, "You've got to go to Bradford," and I was like, "I'm not sure. I don't want to go now." And so I didn't take that opportunity, and then I left and went to Birmingham Council for a while, working there, doing they call it an enforcement officer, pest controller, and I was part of commercial. Started the same day as two other people from Rentokil. One of those, I'm still in contact with my friend Alan Reed. If he's listening on this, he set up his own company, Ames Environmental, and I think that was quite a few years ago. But yeah, we were around there after a few, and we did that for a couple of years, and that was different to Rentokil. You know, Rentokil, you had to write full reports. It was, you know, I've seen this, I've done this, this will done to help reduce the risk of damage to the brand. And with the council at the time, it was a small piece of paper, sign it and give it to the homeowner or the commercial property. It was very, very different. You could use open trays. You know, there's all like these little red trays holding like 20, 30 grams of grain bait, and you can put those down and there's no problem. And I had a little Vauxhall Nova at the time, you know, 1405 was a number on the side of the car.
That sounds very Del Boy and Rodney. That does.
Yeah. It's a different world, isn't it? You go from the private to public, and then from there back to the private, and I did a few tours of duties for a few of the companies, and then in, I think it was 2000, I went to work at Eagle Pest Control.
Eagle,
yeah. So before that, I worked for Pest Control. I think that's right. Pest Control for a year or so, who are now, of course, acquired by Anti-CMEX. So you see how the world has changed in 20, 30 years. And I met a young guy there who's in the pest control industry now, and that's a great thing. You sort of train all these people as you're going around, and they're still in the industry. And Anthony's got his own company now. Anthony Smith is one of the few guys that I trained when I was there. And he left. He went to Eagle, and I then left and followed him to Eagle. as a service manager. So that's my first managerial role, I guess, for the southeast of England. And well, that was a baptism of fire.
I was about to say, and was that the start of your, trajectory up through management? Because you from there, you've taken on some fairly big roles, haven't you, in a couple of companies?
Yeah, I've been blessed. I've been lucky. I've been in the right place. Been fortunate, however you want to put it. But I've met some great people along the way. Opportunities presented themselves throughout my career, and yeah, I took them. And I can hand on heart say there's been no regrets and no bad moves. I mean, there's one company that I joined, and after 3 months, it went bust, and even that was a good move because it got me to where I am. It's part of that, isn't it? I don't know if there's people go looking for opportunities, but it just feels, and I think it's because I enjoy the job and trade so much that it's full of opportunities. This industry, isn't it?
So then you hop up then from Eagle, you eventually get back to Rentokil again.
Yeah, so 2007, I got a call, and Rentokil going through a massive change at that time. You look at the history of Rentokil, it's going through a massive change. And I got a phone call, would you like to come back to work at Rentokil? I don't think so, no, it's a step back, isn't it? I thought, what about an area manager? I said, no, because at that time I was running the UK for Eagle. I said, no, I'm not interested. And they came with another, what about if you do, would you like to do this role? This role? No, I'm not interested. They said, then I got a phone call, what about technical director for the UK? I went, yeah, fine. Yeah. It's one of those big jobs, isn't it? That you think, yes, please. I think I just got, I was in a little bit of shock at the time. I was going, because who are you following? John Charlton. God bless it. You're following like a legend.
Yeah.
And big shoes to fill. And John left the business, and I was there. And what do you do? And sort of scratching around at the time because what do you do? All this, and so my nature is one that quite mischievous, I would say, quite mischievous, and I lose attention very quick. I don't have a great attention span, so I sort of do stuff. And I looked at the training, and it was the same training that I'd done when I was, I was a technician, exactly the same. There was nothing had changed, and so I started rewriting the training. And after about a year, they swapped MDs. So the MD then, Jake Kenrick, left, and Phil Wood was brought in. And on the first day, and the share price at the time was very, very low. It was going down and down as for whatever reason. And Phil, still the UK MD now, came in like a whirlwind. But for me, it was fantastic because he was focused and quite ruthless. And when we were all called, what do you do? What do you do? What do you do? I said, what do you do? And the guy said, I manage this area. He goes, well, I can manage areas. I probably don't need you. What do you do? I do this. Well, I can do that. I probably don't need you. What do you? Came round to me, and I'm sitting there going, oh, here we go. I'm off to get another job now, aren't I? What do you do? I said, technical director. I don't know much about that, so you can probably stay, but you better be good. I was like, okay. And he really understood the business. He was already working in Rentokil. He was working in the Nordics and Eastern Europe, managing director for that part. And he really understood the business. I got to grips with it very quickly, but he backed the training. He backed the training, and he let me develop the training, and he backed innovation. And we put it in the pay and grading, and I just thought it was that freedom to do stuff that I craved all the way through that career. And yeah, it's still there. And then I joined the Rentokil Group in 2012.
So we get a lot of Rentokil on the whole do get a lot of shtick for their pricing and for level of service and things like that. And I do think that, I mean, I don't know how you think about it, but it's difficult, isn't it? You've got 800, I think it's 800 technicians out there, and good God, I can tell you it's bad enough trying to control 4. Let alone 800, and watching the quality and what's going on out there. And people, talk us through the pricing if you don't mind. Sort of what everybody's always like, well, Rentokil's so much more expensive, but there's a lot of big wheels, and with the innovation and everything, and the R&D to pay for. It's not just a small organization, is it?
No, and look, you don't. It's 100 years today. 100 years this year, isn't it? That have been going, and you don't get to 100 years being bad at your job. Rentokil in the UK. Let's talk about the UK for now. It's still synonymous with pest control. You look back, in the TV through the 80s, and they always refer, I'll get the Rentokil man, I'll get this. And I think they do the same in the US now. I'll get the Orkin man. Rentokil equals pest control. And you don't, even when you're in the UK business, you don't realise how huge they are, and where the R&D is funded from, where the training, how do you fund all the training? And we've all suffered, the industry suffered from cheap, nasty pest control, right?
Yeah.
It has. No matter what anybody says, if you don't value yourself, you don't value the service, how's the customer going to value you? I could do a wasp nest for 30 quid because the powder only costs me, I don't know, £10 a kilo, for instance. But you're not putting your own time in, you're not putting your fuel costs in, you're hiring your van, your own time. You've got to have that own value. And I think what Rentokil and the Rentokil brand, they value themselves and built an industry around them. And they don't do everything perfectly. But I think the industry would be worse off if Rentokil never existed. I do believe that. And there's lots of, the industry in the last 10, 20 years has changed dramatically. There's a lot of decent people within the industry, and it's the customers now that have got, a lot of them have got hooked on slow, or they've got hooked on cheap pricing. And so everyone, 30 quid a visit, 10 quid a visit. No, I'll do £5 a visit. Come on. But Rentokil's never dragged itself down to that level. And there's a few companies that have never dragged themselves down to that level. And there's a lot of independent companies that will not drag themselves down to that level because they value themselves.
Why do you think? I mean, when I was with Rentokil, if you picked up the Yellow Pages, if people can remember what the Yellow Pages actually is, you'd go to Pest Control, you'd have Rentokil, and you probably, in our area, you'd have maybe 3 other companies.
Yeah. If
we had the equivalent now, I'd probably have 40.
Yeah.
I wonder why that is what brought that on. Is that not necessarily with maybe not necessarily pest control. I don't know what makes them suddenly think, oh, I can do that. And it snowballed.
Well, look, you get, as a technician, you're given excellent training, and you're given a bag of chemicals and told, go and do pest control, right? Whatever that means. Please go and do pest control. And so you forget, or you don't appreciate how much the training has cost the company, and you don't appreciate how much time and effort has been put into you to get to where you are. And you think, do you know what, I could do this now. I could go and buy chemicals. I can go. And some people do it extremely well. Some people not so well. Some people make fantastic companies out of their out of the knowledge that they've gained. Some people don't. Some people leave and try and be. I'm going to set up a pest control company. It's not that easy, is it? It's not that easy. And if you're happy thinking pest control is a man in a van with a load of poisons, then I would suggest you're probably not going to last long, and you're probably going to be the person that's instigating lowball pricing, because you cannot service a restaurant on 12 visits a year for rats, mice, cockroaches, every type of species of ant, every type of species of fly for 30 quid a visit. You can't.
Unless you've got a massive portfolio of 500 of them.
Well, I still don't think you can. Not with the regulations and legislation now.
Not now, no. So national accounts, that was the way that it was priced then, wasn't it? It was more on volume than.
Let's go back to the OTT. Do you remember that?
Yeah, optimum treatment time.
What was the OTT for a fast food snack restaurant? One of the famous ones.
Chef and brewer was 7 minutes, I think.
Yeah.
The pubs.
Exactly, 7. It was always 7 minutes. 7 minutes.
Sorry, 7 minutes to do what? To get in, do your routine, and get out? What? 7 minutes?
So if you remember, Alex, when Rentokil were investigated by the Monopolies and Mergers Commission, the recommendation was at the end of each year, the customer would have to have a report saying how long was spent on how much time was spent on site, how much prep was spent on site, and therefore your service equaled XYZ. That's what it's cost Rentokil. That's what it's cost you. So the idea with optimum treatment time was that when the report came through, A would equal B. So if they were being charged for 2 hours work, your optimum treatment time was 2 hours. So you would spend 2 hours on site. But if they were only paying £7.50, you only had to spend 7 minutes on site. And it was there were ways of changing the treatment time by using a very expensive product. So what you could do is you could say you'd use 5 tubs of Fentrol gel, which is one of the most expensive products possible, which would actually drop your treatment time down as it was equated all the way through.
Yeah. So, but we again, there's not really many technicians that I knew that stuck to the OTT. It was all about the service, because they were your customers. You owned that portfolio. You felt they were your,
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, I'm not saying it was the wrong thing to do, right or wrong, because nobody actually took any notice of the OTT. They when I was, again, without butting in, so you had your box of cards, which were your customers, and you were left alone to keep those customers happy. It was like running your own little business. I never saw a supervisor. Supervisor? No, just get on and do it. So yeah, it was a different world back then, I would say, though.
It was different world, different industry. Great chemicals, though, wasn't it? Fantastic chemicals. My God, you had BCD, Bramitrol contact dust.
Yeah. Or Lindane contact dust.
Lindane.
Yeah.
Phenitrathion.
Yeah.
There's another good one. That.
Yeah. Phenitrathion wettable powder.
Yeah.
Used to turn the floor white.
Didn't
like
it?
chalk.
Smell. It was a beautiful smell as well. Used to go home at night smelling of it.
Like a sort of rotten cabbagey sort of smell, wasn't it? It was quite distinct, you know. Spray the good stuff. Yeah, right.
Yeah, that's for it, didn't they? They were saying spray the good stuff, spray the stuff that smells.
Yeah. The last guy, you know, he didn't do anything, you know. And I always used to think, right, get the phenitrathion out, and the next visit you go back and they go, God, I didn't know what you fucking used last time, but they was knocking them over.
Yeah, you left the cockroaches twitching, didn't you? And you left yourself twitching as well as you walked out. So yeah, look, there were good days. It was good days. It was enjoyable. The job was enjoyable. The customers were fun. My work colleagues were fun, and I think Rentokil did a lot right. And I can't knock them for doing what they did or where they are, and I don't think it's probably right to do that anyway.
So, which kind of brings us on to. Oh, sorry, Hugh.
No, you crack on, Alex.
No, I was literally just about to say, you know, so if you've, you know, spent this time working your way through the pest management industry, you know, from, as you say, from private to public to private again, and then working your way up, how did you get from those, you know, fairly landmark events to obviously where you are now? And what you're doing now is a very interesting endeavor that's caught the attention of a lot of people in the industry. Should we talk about that for a bit?
Yeah. So I went from the UK, Rentokil UK, to Rentokil Group, and again, I was very lucky. Did some great innovations. Had a fantastic team in the science department and the innovation. You know, many of them still there. Transformed the innovation pipeline, built the fly killers, what you see, the LED fly killers that came out of us. Autogate was one that came out. You know, all of that, fantastic. And then I got a phone call. My life is full of these phone calls. Then I got a phone call because would I be interested in going to the Middle East? Bear in mind at this time, I absolutely loved my job. You know, I had freedom. I was innovating. It was great. Where in the Middle East? And of course, UAE, United Arab Emirates. Okay. Well, I'm interested now. UAE, Dubai. Okay. And so I went through this interview process, and the more you got speaking to the recruiter, I sort of started realising it wasn't Dubai. Okay, well, I thought the UAE, Dubai, that's where all the action happens, right? It turns out it was for the northernmost Emirates, a wonderful, beautiful place called Ras Al Khaimah, and they said that, but you can live in Dubai. You can live in Dubai if you come across. You can live in Dubai. It's okay. Why would you want to live there when you've got the beauty of Ras Al Khaimah? And if you've never been or you don't know it, I would suggest you visit it or certainly go and Google it. It's a wonderful place, and it's got the mountains. It's got the beaches. It's really like one of those unspoiled places. So I had a phone call. Would you like to go set up or professionalised pest control in the Middle East, in Ras Al Khaimah. And I went across, I saw it, and bear in mind I was driving long distances as well for Rentokil, and we're travelling all over the world because it's 74 countries. It got to the point where I was spending about 180 nights away from home, which it's not ideal, is it? You know, so I went over there, and it was a great place, and really the experience was fantastic, and I met great people over there, and one person in particular, Abdullah Al-Balushi, who's on this. I've seen him on this chat, so I know he's listening. You know, he took me under his wing as a local guy, and and when I turned up, said, "Oh, by the way, you're doing animal welfare as well," because it's related. I don't know, you know, how animal welfare, pest control. To me, it didn't really relate. It was look after these, but kill these.
Yeah, kill this, feed this.
Yeah. So first day, met with Abdullah, and he sort of said, "Right, I'll be," because he was put there to look after the animal welfare and sort out pest control. And the guys turned up. My pest control team turned up. Didn't really know how to write. Didn't really know what chemicals they were using. Sort of had some phosphine in the back of the van, which was, what do you do? How do you do pest control? We spray bins. And, oh my God, what have I done? What have I done? But their highnesses over there fully supported what we then went on to do, and we not just had to teach pest control, but we taught them, the team, about how to communicate, how to write, how to talk to customers. I had extremely lucky that the guy there, who was just a driver, his job was just to drive people around. He took me around on the first or second day, but he was able to speak 6 different languages. I thought, well, if you can speak 6 languages, you can learn. You can learn, sir. So you can be my field trainer. So we had a load of one-to-one sessions for a number of months, and you know, Abdullah was also running around with the animal welfare stuff, you know, making sure that camels didn't wander into the road, and we were going out and trying to find chemicals to buy and meeting with suppliers, and it was one of those surreal moments where you go, can we make this work? We bought the first vehicles, you know, the vans. We had to design the vans, we had to design the training, anyway, went through all of that, and we built a very successful commercial business for the government as well, from nothing, from these guys who were just put in there, and all they knew how to do was spray bins. And it's probably one of the proudest moments of my life to see what we created there, because it not only gave them pest control skills, but really we saw big change in themselves personally. And it was, you know, we built a fantastic training centre, big screen projectors on there, learning aids, simulation rooms, all for this small pest control company that turned out to be, you know, turning over a couple of million dirhams of revenue in the end. And we went to a lot of the big hotels who at the time were paying nothing for pest control, but also gave nothing in return. You know, one of the things I was trying to find mouse boxes. Yeah, Abdullah, I need some mouse boxes. We don't have mouse boxes because no one's using them. No one's using mouse boxes. No one's using poison blocks. It's all grain. So we had a lot of fun, and we used to go and see the customers and say, oh, "Okay, this is how pest control is. This is what pest control is." And it was a famous hotel that actually our first contract, they said, okay, I'll give you a go, and ended up paying 3, 4, 5 times the price of what they were paying at the moment once they started to see the results. And then it just snowballed on and on and on. And then soon after that, after around probably a year, I was given, okay, executive director for the landscape agency, which was pest control, animal welfare, parks, beaches, rentals, lots of other stuff that I was doing over there. And a lot of it was palm trees. How do you fertilize a palm tree? Do you know? No, I didn't either. I didn't, but apparently every year.
Google.
28,000 palm trees had to be fertilized. There you go. So it was just weird stuff like that, you know. And I learned a load about snakes and scorpions and mosquitoes and termites and all that stuff. So stuff I knew about from my days at Rentokil on the global stage, but I didn't understand fully the biology. Like, you know, rats and mice, no, because we're dealing with them every day. But just think if someone said to you, there you go, go and control the mosquitoes for me. How do you? It's like, okay, let's have a think about this. And so we learnt a lot. We tried a lot. Their Highnesses, again, without their help, we wouldn't have done what we did. And yeah, it went fantastic. And then so we went over there, and we spent 5-6 years. I took my daughter over with me. She's 11 at the time, and we were going back to the UK. I was only ever going over for 2 years after my contract kept on getting extended, and I see Abdullah's put in the comments there about the spa. We had a spa as well. Yeah, we were given a spa. I said, can you make that work? Yeah, a natural spring spa. So it was like that. Everything just given to us because we were very successful. And so after about 5 years, my daughter was doing A-levels, wanted to do A-levels after GCSEs, and so we were going to come back to the UK. And to be honest, I wasn't going to do anything. I had visions of just sitting around doing, let's just relax and enjoy life and eat Doritos, play a few games of whatever, golf or Xbox or whatever you want to do. Sit in your pants and eat your Doritos. That was to me, that was living the dream. But before I came over, my old chief executive of Rentokil, Alan Brown, reached out to me, and we had several conversations about this project that he was doing, and I did a bit of consulting work, freelance work, but I still wasn't really convinced I'm going to do anything. A few days consulting would have suited me. But the more we found out, and the more I met the investors and then the founders, Roman and Casper, the more I thought, do you know what, we can change pest control here, and an industry has given me everything. We can absolutely turn it on its head and do pest control, proper pest management, because we had backing, we didn't have baggage, we didn't have legacy. We had a great team, with Alan Brown as our chairman now, and the partners group as the backers, and Roman and Casper here. You can read their bios on our website. Hugely experienced, and I thought it's worth another run out on the pitch, isn't it? I thought, you know what? If I really can, if everything I'm being told is right and true, and why wouldn't I? Why wouldn't I have a go at this? And so, yeah, the Pest Control Partnership was was born, and it came from not my idea. I mean, I was brought on, but you know, Casper talking to several people, and Alan talking to several people, and the partners group, the private equity firm.
So what makes somebody suddenly sit down and think, I want to take over the pest control world then? What makes you suddenly, you know, for the investors, for like Casper, and you're suddenly sitting there, you're having a drink, and you think, you know what, I want to take over the, you know, I want to build a big company again.
Well, I think, you know, you've got these private equity guys in these companies all around the world, and you know, it's their job to invest. That's their job, and so everyone's looking around to say, what's the next big thing? And you know, we're all in the industry and we all love it. We'll go, pest control is fantastic. But when investors look at it, they look at it very differently. I you know, I'm not going to pretend I know what they look for. They look at it differently. They see that it's a special industry. They see that it's fragmented. They see that you can. There is space to. There is a need to change how we do stuff. There is technology creeping into pest control, which, you know, if we've got time, that's going to be worth a chat about, isn't it?
Yeah.
And so it becomes an attractive proposition, and especially when you think it's, you know, it's not going to go away. Pests are not going to go away. They've been around for, you know, millions of years. There's always going to be cockroaches. There's always going to be fleas. There's always going to be blah 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 blah. Mosquitoes will hit this place. Termites will hit here. This will go hit. Pests are around. It's one of those, you know, gifts that keep on giving, isn't it? Pest control. And if you can differentiate and do a proper job, then not only is there money to be made, but there's also satisfaction, I think, and to do some good. It's not just about killing and, you know.
So the idea is then they're sat there and they think, right, we want to build a business. What's the quickest way to build a business? Buy other businesses, yeah?
Yeah, but not just buying. I think anybody with cash can go and buy businesses, can't they?
Yeah.
We've
so
seen
what makes you different then? Because I'm going to be honest, from an outside perspective, for a lot of our listeners listening to this night, what they are seeing from that perspective is the Pest Control Partnership professionals, just coming in and acquiring and picking up businesses and creating this Uber entity, but that's all anyone sees. So can you sort of like lift that veil for us? Can we have a peek behind the curtain? What's going on? What is the plan? So
look, our plan is to build a world-class pest control platform, and if you look at about on the website, and you know, the missions in there, and the care for the well-being of communities, and we're served by managing pests in the most environmentally responsible way. What that really means, and you ask me, can you lift the veil on this? This isn't about Pest Control Partnership. What we are doing is acquiring skilled entrepreneurs, great people, good solid companies who have ideas and have maybe been constrained by, you know, whatever, you know, finances to invest or freedom to operate or whatever, and we enable them, and we care and put people at the centre of everything that we do. We are, you know, you don't hear Pest Control Partnership, do you? You don't say all around the place, Pest Control Partnership, because that's not us. Pest Control Partnership sits behind the brands. It's the brands that are powerful. That's why we buy great companies. It's not we go around and we just buy companies. That's, you know.
So when you say you buy great companies, you're looking at a company, whoever's company. What makes that company? What makes your investors want to buy that company? Is it just portfolio? Is it, you know, does it have to be worth so much? What? So, okay, so I'm coming. I want to sell my business, mate.
Great. Well, then you get the pleasure of sitting down with Casper.
Yeah.
And he'll go through everything with you. But look, what we're looking for, a culture. The culture has to fit what we're trying to achieve. So if you're looking for someone to buy your company, strip it out, and that's it, right? Which is one way of acquisition. That's not us. We're not looking to come and strip companies and put them under our name, the Pest Control Partnership. That's not what we do. If you are have a culture of just beating up your staff to screw them to get more and more from them, and along with that, you know, not delivering for your customers, that's not us. You know, we're not interested in that. What we're interested in is the entrepreneurial spirit, which we need to drive us forward. We are, of course, we're interested in portfolio. Of course we are, but it's not the driver. It's about the people. It's a little bit about locality, because of course we need to expand. There's no point having all your companies in one locality, is it? You know, having 30 companies in London doesn't do anyone any favours. And it's about that right fit. It's, I say, if you look at what we've done so far, we keep the brands, we keep the people. It's not a strip. It's not an asset strip. It's not strip everything out and let's take all these into the. There's, you know, we integrate some stuff behind the scenes, but essentially we want the business owners to grow those businesses.
So if I wanted to say, look at, I'm not, but if I wanted to think about selling the business in 3 years' time,
yeah,
what could I start doing now that would put me in a position that I was saleable? Would you be looking at, not just you, but any company buying it? Well, I would have to say you, because everybody's different. Would you be looking at contracts? Would you be looking at jobs? Would you be looking at net profit? What could I do as a plan?
A strong contract base of recurring revenue, absolutely.
Would you want all those contracts? Because I know a lot of people. Sorry, Savvas. Would they want all those contracts? A lot of contracts now seems a lot of guys are just like, shake my hand, there's a contract. Well, personally, I prefer to have it in writing. Is that something that you would look at?
It's always better to have it in writing, isn't it? It's always better to have it in writing. But some are just framework agreements, you know, okay, which are acceptable. I would say you've got to build that culture within your business. It's no good. Yeah, having a business is a bigger calling, isn't it, than just making money. And what we do is bigger than just making money. You know, we're protecting people. We're protecting people's lives. You protect their environments. It's really, you know, the best thing if you're thinking about selling is call us and have a chat. Even if you think in 3 years, is call us. You know, because we'll still be around in 3 years.
So I have to ask. I mean, still getting my head around this. So you acquire the companies, but of course you allow them to operate independently under their own names and brands and banners. Yeah. So from that, what do you bring to the companies, and more importantly, what are you expecting in return from those companies? Because if they're still operating with their own brands and they've got their own personnel, and the owner still has an operational stake in it, then you'd be forgiven for thinking that nothing's changed. But obviously something has. So what is that key change that you bring with that acquisition?
So we start tying the companies together with some admin integration. We will also start operating under a common model with the innovations that we'll launch as well. So my role is about compliance, innovation, the technical expertise, how we do stuff. We will aid where we can with infestations, with technical expertise, with health and safety, with commercial knowledge, with a whole host of business skills, so we can make the businesses grow.
So that would
In a way,
mean like
almost
trying to get the same standard operating procedures and everything through every single one of those different companies. So they are, although they're individual entities, they're all working to the same.
Yeah, so we've got our you know, our PEST acronym, which is people, environmental, service, and technology. And so we will really start scaling our expertise as a collective for the good of the collective. So people that, you know, haven't been able to invest in areas where they want. You might have seen that we've been kitting out vans recently. You know, we've got bespoke van kit out project on the go at the moment. Some businesses have been wanting to kit out their vehicles for either safety or efficiency or whatever, and haven't been able to because of the investment or being able to find where to go. And so that's one of the skills, but really stitching these companies together. We still want them to grow, and we'll enable the business owners to grow the businesses, and we'll take away all the stuff that stops them growing and doing business. So payroll, every month they've got to do payroll, and sometimes it takes a lot of their admin resource to do that. We'll take that away from them. We'll do a central payroll run for them. The systems.
Sean's asked a question there saying having a business a bigger calling than making money. How is that? How true is that, do you think?
Well, I believe it, and I'm certain my colleagues believe it, because it is. You know, what we're doing is vital, isn't it? It's not just about going out and killing stuff. That's what pest control. What do you do? Pest control. Oh, you go and kill stuff. No. You know, the sustainability, the environmental, the community. We've got to. I think everyone has a duty, haven't they, within that business to make sure your environment, that your community is catered for, looked after, and it's not just about planting trees to offset your carbon or anything like that. You know, what about the? I used to love going around the schools and doing like mini beast talks with them, and that's the type of stuff that you've got to give something back.
So, from my understanding, then it's not like a reverse franchise. It's almost like a syndicated conglomerate. You are the conglomerate, and your subsidiaries are, you know, a syndicated. All of the pest management companies out from underneath you at that point, working as a large network, but of independent entities.
Yeah, all supporting each other as well. So, you know, they're able now to give services that they haven't been able to before. So, for example, a pest control company based in the West always wants to do bird control, gets a lot of inquiries for bird control, and then all of a sudden now they've got an outlet for that.
So this is an interesting, sorry, Hugh, because I've got before I forget. I mean, so when it comes to sort of like things like CPD, continual development, or association with trade bodies, for example, is that all done through the parent group, or do you basically write, let's say, a code of best practice, say, right, everyone has to do X, Y, and Z, and we're going to leave it up to you to achieve those goals?
Well, look, we're not jumping in, and bear in mind we've only been going about a year and a half or something like that now. We're not jumping in there saying everyone change over to BPCA or everyone change over to MPTA. That's not what we're doing. That will come later, without a doubt. You know, we have to make a decision of what are we going to do and where's training going to lie, and you know, is it the BPCA, is it the MPTA, is it something different?
Is it something different? What do you mean?
Well, I've been away 5 years, right? I come back. You've got the BPCA, who were, let's be honest, were the top of the tree with British Pest Control. And bear in mind, I served on the board as well.
Yeah.
You've got the MPTA, who've always been there with national pest technicians. So essentially, it was always the BPCA for companies, the MPTA for technicians, and then suddenly I come back, and the only body with any legal legislative diktat is crew, right? So the only thing you need to do as a pest controller to be a pest controller in this country is pass a recognised course that includes some kind of responsible rodenticide usage, right? So where's the BPCA and MPTA in that, when we've got crew now becoming de facto regulatory?
And what do you think of crew?
Okay.
What were you going to ask me, Alex? No.
I was going to ask the same question. I feel suddenly I have that.
News a corner.
No, I'm more than happy to tell this. So, crew is responsible for rodenticides. Pest control isn't just about rodenticides. I think they've now got a foot in the door where MPTA and BPCA have missed out. I think it's, there's always that question, isn't it, about how did crew come about and how did it get so powerful so quickly?
Oh, it didn't get powerful quickly. It took a long time.
No, it's taken a long time, but in 5 years from really being at the back to now being legislative power, right? The only legislative or prescribed legislative power. So it's relatively quick.
Yeah, okay, I'll give you that. But it's crew's been an interesting one, and we've done podcasts again. We could literally talk about crew all night. Yeah. So let's not hit this particular rabbit hole, because this is one that we could easily spin out the rest of our time and not get anywhere with it. But no, the reason I ask is kind of, it goes back to exactly what you were saying previously about when you worked at Rentokil, and what he was saying, he's trying to manage 4 people, and that's difficult. Rentokil, you're managing teams of 10, then, 10 teams of 10, and then 10 teams of 10 teams of 10, and doing all of that. But from it sounds like, what you're trying to do now is you've got a whole load of geese, and you're trying to get them to all go down the road at the same time. That's kind of what it looks like. So how do you manage that? I mean, it must be a colossal undertaking of administration and mental flexibility to get so many companies to operate in the same ethos.
Well, it goes back to when we acquired, don't we? And it goes back to that culture. They've got to be the right fit. It's no good coming into it if you want an easy ride and you don't want to progress. What we've got are MDs that are still hungry for whatever different personal reason. They're still hungry. They've still got stuff to do in the industry. They still want to, make the Internet of Things work. They still want to change the world in some way. They still want to be the best. And there's a whole load of people under them, because the MDs, companies are led by MDs, right? And that company culture is the same. So the MDs breathe the culture, and you can see that in the colleagues right down through those companies that we're acquiring. We've got some really bright young talent, which we're, now we've got the enviable problem, haven't we, of how do we keep everyone engaged, and how do we make sure that we grow that talent pool.
Oh yeah, it's going to be a really big challenge for folks like yourself to bring that. As you say, you came into the industry fresh out of university, as did I, with no intention of going to university to be a pest manager, and yet that happens, isn't it? But that's not the normal pathway for people to enter our industry. So we all have a lot of work, and so I'm glad it's forefront of your mind, because it's one of those things that we need that next generation coming up to start learning these practices. Now, we do have some comments, some questions in the comments, but we'll come to those in just a moment. Hugh, you look pensive as what?
I was just all I was going to say was so roll on 5 years. Where do you want to be? Where does the Pest Control Partnership want to be? And where also, this is going to be the big clanger, where do you think the pest control industry is going to be?
Oh, well, so where do we want to be in 5 years' time? We've got a very clear strategy of where we want to go and how we want to grow. And we were set up predominantly to be a European right in the early days. That's very quickly becoming more moving into other territories. You know, it says again, I'll refer everyone to the website where it states on there the pathways and where we're likely to go, including Middle East, Asia, maybe into the US. We'll see. The strategy part and where we go is really on with my colleagues as well, of what we're going to achieve and where we're going to achieve it. But we want to be a large pest control company, roughly in the region of about 300 million, with operating in different territories around the globe. And will we, you know, your other question is, where do I want to be, was it?
No, where do you think the industry is going to be in 5 years' time?
Well, the industry needs to look. The industry really needs to get its act together, because what is the industry? Where is it? If you say I've spoken to the industry, you're lucky. You can speak to the industry via this podcast, right? You're probably touching more people here than the BPCA or the NPTA, although you know Kevin's very active on his LinkedIn. But this type of forum really gets us more exposure. And is this the industry? Is this what the industry will be? Because if the term the industry points to the regulatory body of the industry, then I don't think at the moment there's a clear winner of that. I think it needs to, and it's been said many times over, it needs to come together, but it really does, because I can't see how there's room for 3, 4, maybe 5 different organisations all claiming to be the voice of the industry. It doesn't work, and it just dilutes our voice.
So what are you saying those 5 different voices are?
Well, I'm saying that you've got MPTA, you've got the BPCA, you've got Crew, you've got what's the new one, UK PMO or UK PCO, or you know, there's another one that I've seen as well.
That started, but it I don't believe it fully found legs. But I think, I mean, you know, you've got spaces who are speaking on our behest in a way. You will have all of the M&D community have their own, you know, agendas. Yeah, we do need a unified voice. I don't disagree. And whether or not that's through one organisation or through a lot more communication and collaboration between the existing organisations, who's to say?
You know, Alex, back in the day, everyone used to talk about the BPCA, didn't they? BPCA Part 1. I've done my BPCA. I've done my BPCA. Now to talk about RSPH. I've done my RSPH. So again, I think BPCA have relinquished a little bit of their brand to the RSPH.
I believe if you get your RSPH level 2, you still have the BPCA logo on that certificate.
Yeah, but what I'm saying is no one's talking like, oh, it was always a BPCA, wasn't it? It was always, I've got my BPCA Part 1 or BPCA Part 2. But I think there's and that dilution of, and it's confusing for customers as well. Who's in charge? Who's actually the voice? If I've got a problem, where do I go? Do I go BPCA? Do I go UK PCO? Do I go RSPH, they were throwing up this. It's really confusing, and perhaps looking, outward from the industry, we don't realise how confusing it is.
And maybe we need to. Sorry, maybe we need to have a look at other industries. Some people, like, if you have a look at the construction industry, for example, I think they have about 5 different trade associations, but they all tend to focus. They tend to be more focused in on different areas of construction.
With what you said about how you see that crew have changed things, what's your opinion on licensing? Personally, I just think it'd be a complete disaster if crew can't get. Anyway,
are you talking about licensing of individuals, right?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I would love to see that licensing, but only with a proper training pathway for people coming into the industry, that they know I've got to follow this pathway, and that gets me licensed. And then when I'm licensed, I'm regulated by whatever check or whatever this on an annual basis of every 2 years, whatever. You can't just have, now you're licensed because you've done CPD, or you licensed because you've done 1 exam. That doesn't work. And look at the labels now. Look at what you're going to have to do next year, 2026. You've got to have done this exam. You have to be CPD, and then you can go and get this. And we're only saying this CPD or this CPD. Well, there's another one coming on, right? Having a personal license, like in some of the European countries or the US, where it's more professionalized, within the States, is interesting. Is that going to add more cost to the operations? Yeah, well, and then it's got to be a passed on cost.
Did you not think, though, that it would just get hijacked by the government if they can't? If our industry as a whole can't get an agreement on CPD and crew, and we got something as ridiculous as taking a half-day course every 5 years, and we couldn't get that pushed up to once a year, how are we ever going to get people together to decide on the license?
Exactly. It goes back to my point. You can't dilute the voice of the industry, because you can't separate. Okay, this organisation is the voice for the rodents. This organisation is the voice for insecticides. This voice. It doesn't work like that. And so we're just diluted in the voice. It really is.
I would hasten to say that the strange things, I've been looking at a lot of global pest management strategies and setups, with this role that I have now, and the UK is strange, glorious and weird at the same time, in the sense that we're one of the, I wouldn't say one of the few, but we are one of certainly the minority in Europe and certainly the States and other places to not have a licensing structure, and yet our caliber of pest management is not necessarily as bad as you would think, for it being all done by self-stewardship. And so with that in my mind, if you were to bring in the elements that have worked from the States, the elements that have worked from the French and the German programs, and even those out in Australia and New Zealand.
If it's government run, it's going to be a nightmare.
And but the thing is, most of these are not necessarily government run. They are, licenses. Yeah, no, it's industry led, and it is signed off by the government. And so with that, we would build the framework. But there we go. It's like Beetlejuice. We mentioned licensing 3 times, and all hell's broken loose.
Yeah.
So again,
I went against my own rule.
Yeah, you absolutely did. Next, we're going to have Sean talk about Asian hornets in the comments, and then we
Asian hornets, honeybees. I said it. It's done.
Go on, throw him back as well. Why not?
I'm about to say the bomb's going to come. But so we got one question in the comments, and it's from Lulu. She says, "Sorry if I've missed this, but how are you making money off this? I'll read it out for you ad verbum. Sorry I've missed this, but how are you guys making money? How do you reclaim your initial outlay and then the ongoing costs after that? Are you acquired firms on a subscription basis, or are they operating? So how are you? What did you guys get from this? Is what we're asking.
The acquisitions are wholly owned by the Pest Control Partnership, 100%. So it's not subscription. We've got backing by private equity, and the money will be part of an ongoing payback, which is done through getting the businesses to be bigger and more focused. And as I said, take away the back office, some of the back office admin type work, which they're doing, like payroll, for instance. Put a system in that helps them payroll runs. Things like health and safety, things like waste disposal, things like procurement, all of that adds value and increases the profitability of those companies. And then
I like it.
Everybody's going to ask, I'm sure everybody's waiting with bated breath, and I'm not going to push you on this because it's a different, it's a very awkward subject. How do you value buying a company?
Well, that's for my friend and mentor Casper to answer. But I'm
not saying you guys specifically. I mean, what your formula is, but
there's a number of ways in there, and it's what type of deal that you're doing as well. Whether you're buying the company, buying the asset, buying the contracts, buying everything. There's a number of different ways, and I think the best way of, if anyone is thinking about that or wants to know, is to talk to us directly, because every company is different.
I was going to say, there used to be this magic formula, didn't there? It was £1 in the pound for contracts, 50 pence in the pound for job work, and some ethereal figure plucked out of midair for a good name. That's
right. It's look, there's different ways, isn't there? It's all about the value and what's determined as value, and for that is not my specialty. I can invent things, I can meddle with things, I can break things, I can kill the odd pest now and again, but really it's outside it, and that's why we've got specialists within our team that know that type of formula, and they do that for a living. So I will respectively say not for me at the moment. Not until some more by my friend Casper.
Well, there's been so many different figures. I didn't expect you to say, "Oh yeah, we're going to give you."
It's complicated now. I sit in these meetings with these people. I'm there because I've got a skill set. I know how to do pest control. I know to kill things. I know what kills stuff. I know what controls stuff. I know, traditional pest control and some stuff about technology. I'm not there because of my skills of buying companies. We've got people to do that. Everyone's got their skill set, and that's why we're successful. You look at the 5 or the 4 founders; they've got very particular skill sets, and that's why we're not jumping over each other.
Fair enough.
So, I mean, if anyone's interested in contacting Casper or Sav, I have put the links up in the chat, so you can go back later on, have a look at that, and see if you can try your luck. But it sounds like a really exciting venture, and to my knowledge, it's a very different setup as we've seen in the past, because of course in the past we have seen those classic Mitie, Rentokil, Terminex, then Virgo, these big acquisitions, and now of course sort of like Orkin and Anti-Cemex, and they have a very specific structure, which is acquire and then absorb into their brand over the course of a couple of years. But of course what you're saying is acquire, and then there is that absorption into the culture and the back end, but the front end remains Mama and Pop's pest control company, and will do for forever, or until when?
And until we decide and the businesses decide other, but it's not it's not in our plans. There's great strength in the brands that we acquire, and there's huge talent and strength in the people that come across with those businesses, and that's what we want. That's what builds great companies. They've built great companies on their own, and so we want to use those skills to build a great company across a bigger geography.
Cool.
Absolutely. Oh, that sounds amazing. And like I say, it's a disruptive. It's what I said before we started the podcast. It's a disruptive element into our industry, and it's these disruptive moments that actually really push and form, as Hugh says, what the next 5 years is going to be. What's it going to look like? And I think you guys are going to ruffle feathers, but at the same time create this new group of pest management. It's not just servicing companies and the rest. It's now this extra element that we find in the middle.
Absolutely. It's fun, and there's freedom to operate and cause a little bit of chaos every now and again. I'm in.
Done and done.
I've got to shout at myself.
Yeah, we're coming up to that. So
Time.
before we ask you the famous three, I think we're getting to the habit now of just asking our guest, have you got a question, a burning question that you would like to ask us, to flip the tables on its head? Have you got a question that springs to mind you'd like to ask us, or even the listeners?
So how have you seen technology used in pest control in the right way so far?
Hugh?
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. As a reasonable early adopter of the technology, when we started off using a trap tech system, which is no longer available, which was basically probably 7 years ago. You have a mouse trap on a little pressure plate, mouse trap goes off, signal gets sent via a gateway to our phones. So we were an early adopter with that one. Haven't quite seen one that does everything yet, but we've gone from the pest cam with Futura's pest cams, and now I got to admit we ditched those because we went on to the cubes. They were not good. So we use Reolink cameras a lot, as does everybody now. We probably got 15 Reolinks that we use in people's lofts to monitor traps, and that for us is probably bang for your buck. We don't need a trap that sets a signal off. We just set a camera up, wide angle. We can watch all the traps, check it each night. 100 quid for a camera, £5 a month for the sim. Job done. So yeah, definitely.
And I would follow that up with saying I think everyone is using technology in their pest management business at the moment, but I think people don't quite realize how far technology goes, because how many of us use electronic reporting systems? That's technology, that's evolving, that's something new. We've got our smart cameras. That's definitely something we didn't have a couple of years ago. Technology doesn't necessarily have to mean the Internet of Things, a box that chirps at you and shows it. And those are definitely part of the cresting wave, and those are going to be part of this technology tsunami that is going to if we're not careful, overtake us, and we won't know what to do with it. But at the same time, I think people use a lot more technology than they give themselves credit for, all the way from AI helping them write their advert blurbs, all the way down to using electronic reporting and cameras. It's all part of what we do. But I assume that you have something specific you are sliding into here.
Well, look, there's two schools of thought, isn't there, about technology and in particular IoT, report rights and all of that. Is one school is it's there to replace technicians. The other school is there to enable technicians, and we're very firmly on the side of it enables technicians and not replaces them. And I think if we're not careful, we could educate customers in the wrong way to tell them you don't need anyone to come to your site anymore, because this magic box will do everything. And I think that's probably one of my biggest fears.
the thing that is the way that you sell that, though, isn't it? It's you know, we always say any technology like that is a tool which allows us not to be bait box kickers. It allows us to be inspectors, looking at those areas that, you know, need looking at, not just going from box to box to box to box to box to box. But if you do sell it as another company was trying to sell it, you know, this system will rent this system to you, and then we'll have a chain of partners that will come out when you've got a problem. I think that would be not a good thing for the industry, really. That's not the way that personally I would see it should be used. No, because let's face it, you got a mousetrap down. You know, it doesn't matter how clever that mousetrap is. When the rat runs in and the rat runs over the top of the mousetrap, it ain't going to do a lot of good, is it?
That's exactly right. Isn't it? Mouse on top. I've got a slide that I used to show. Mouse on top of the box, or mouse in the box. Yep. Say you've got a mouse. Mouse on top of the box says you're pest free.
Yeah, exactly. That. I've got the same. I've got the same pictures from doing similar field trials where I had, you know, pest-free site, and the rats were just running straight over the tops of the smart.
No evidence found on today's visit.
But you and as a classic example, like the technology is being rapidly adopted in places like the States. However, their messaging is very different. It's all around labor saving. It's all about saving labor. It's all about the labor shortage. Bring in smart technology. You don't need as many people. You don't need to come back as often. To my mind, that is the wrong message to be sending. Sorry to all of our American counterparts who sign in, but I think that's the wrong way to go. It should enable, it should augment your program, not replace it in any way, shape, or form. So, Hugh, I'm sorry. Do you want to lead us into our final 3 questions?
Have you put them up? No, hang on, let's put them up. There we go.
So,
have you enjoyed your time on the? Okay.
Go on, Hugh. After you.
Have you enjoyed your time on the podcast?
Yeah, it's been great. I mean, usually I'll be sitting with my wife, and I'd rather sit with you guys and talk about pest control.
Anytime.
That's you done for the weekend, mate.
I don't know. I can't believe I said that out loud.
She won't watch it. Don't worry, she won't. We'll cut that bit out. Oh no, we can't. We're live.
To be brutally honest, I mean, you can come back, because if you look like this, you know, you're Hugh from the top half and you're me from the bottom half. So actually, you know, you could come in as a co-presenter and we'll just nestle you in the middle and nobody will know. So anytime you want to come back.
Great, thank you.
Right, so give us a shameless plug, and I have a feeling I know exactly what this will be.
So if you are thinking in any way or curious to know what we do at Pest Control Partnership, or even thinking, you know, is selling your business right for you, just give us a call. It costs nothing. We'll come and see you wherever. And if you're reading us a cash bill, buy you dinner.
There you go.
Mac is at a service station. That's what it'll be.
That's right. Yeah.
So, next question is, if you had to ask somebody to come on the podcast, or you'd like to see somebody on the podcast, who would you like to see? Don't say Jeremy Clarkson like someone did last week. That's not going to happen.
You know, I've been lucky. I've met so many interesting people across the world in my time. I think one of the people that I have met is a real expert is a guy called Tom Capps from a company called Flock Free over in the US. I don't know if you know Tom. He's got some really great innovations, runs a great bird control business over there in New Jersey, but he's worth interviewing. He's a great guy.
Cool.
Oh well, send us some links after the show. We'll be there.
We've had some great American US counterparts and friends come on. It's always enjoyable when they join us.
We had some great podcast guests on as well. But I have to say, Sav, like the comments will be coming in on the LinkedIn, and there's been a couple coming in through. I know that you're very prolific on LinkedIn, so if anyone has any future comments that they are dropping into this, I have no doubt Sav will pick them up over the next couple of days.
Just want to say thanks for coming on. Been an absolute pleasure.
It's been a pleasure. Thank you so much. You look after yourself, and thank you, everyone.
Will do. Thank you very much. So everyone, night.
Night.
Thank you for listening to the Beauties and Beasties podcast.